I'd like to call today's meeting to order. Tonight, we have the Select Board meeting held Monday, March 20th, 2023, here in the Walk-White Meeting Room, Mashpee Town Hall, 16 Great Neck Road North, Mashpee, Mass. 02649, broadcast live on local cable channel 18, stream live on Town of Mashpee website. The time is now 5:30. We will convene the meeting in open session. And I'd like to start off with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to ask for a moment of silence for all those that serve and protect us. Thank you. I would accept a motion to go into executive session. The motion to enter into executive session, I move that the board convene an executive session for the purpose of discussing strategy regarding negotiations with the non-union personnel relative to the personnel administration plan and with the following collective bargaining units where an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the town. The Mass COP, Local 477, Administrators Unit C, Police Unit Lieutenants, Service Employees International Union, SEIU, AFL-CIO, Local 888, Public Works Unit A, Service Employees International Union, SEIU, AFL-CIO, Local 888, Public Works Unit B, Service Employees International Union, SEIU, Local 888, Clerical Library Dispatchers Chapter, from which the board will reconvene in open session following.
So moved.
Second.
Hearing a first and second, any discussion? Hearing none. Michaela?
Yes.
Yes.
Tom? John?
Yes.
Carol? We're in executive session. Mr. Town Manager?
Just have
that's right. Yeah. Seems like a long time ago. Here it is.
Nice to see you, bro.
Oh, okay. I knew I recognized you.
We're already in session.
Yes. John went to the bathroom. Good evening, everyone. We did start the meeting early, so we are in open session at this time. We are going to return to business. One of the members had to step out of the room, but now that we're back, we're going to get back down to business. So in returning to open session, we're at the line item of discussion and possible ratification of approval for the following contracts. Collective bargaining units, Mass COP, Local 477, Unit C, police lieutenants. Take them up one at a time or read them all first?
One at a time, please.
Yes.
So moved.
Well, I'd accept the motion to approve collective bargaining unit contract for Mass COP, Local 477, Unit C, police lieutenants.
So moved.
Second.
And ratification.
Ratification, rather. I amend that motion to ratify. Hearing a first and second, any discussion? Hearing none. Carol?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Michaela?
Yes.
I'm a yes as well. That motion passes unanimously. Next, I would accept a motion to approve collective bargaining unit contract, Service Employees International Union, SEIU, AFL-CIO, Local 888, Public Works, Unit B, Unit A, rather. Motion to ratify.
So moved.
Second.
Hearing a first and second. Michaela?
Yes.
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
And I'm a yes as well. That motion is approved unanimously. Moving on, motion to ratify collective, ratify the approval of the collective bargaining unit agreement for Service Employees International Union, SEIU, AFL-CIO, Local 888, Public Works, Unit B.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Hearing a first and second, any discussion? Hearing none. Carol?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Michaela?
Yes.
I'm a yes as well. That motion is approved unanimously by all present. Finally, we have motion to ratify the approval of collective bargaining unit contract, Service Employees International Union, SEIU, Local 888, Clerical Library Dispatchers Chapter.
So moved.
Second.
Hearing a first and second, any discussion? Hearing none. Michaela?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
And I recuse on that one, and that motion passes as well. I'd accept a motion to approve meeting minutes from the March 13th Monday night meeting, Select Board meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Hearing a first and second, any discussion? Hearing none. Carol?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Michaela?
Yes.
I'm a yes as well. That passes unanimously. Moving on. Appointments and hearings. We're going to go into the public comment portion. The only one I have signed up at the moment is Ken Dabrowski. Welcome back. If you'd
Okay.
state your name and
Oh, yeah,
address
like
for the
nobody knows,
record.
Ken Dabrowski, 3 Grayfield Landing. Want to talk about the warrant issue that you approved last Monday, the $8 million. Again, because of the way you guys have it structured, I got to do it a week later. But anyway, I agree with Mr. Collins. I mean, this whole idea of lumping these things, it's I don't know how you're going to manage this thing. I mean, you know, I understand, you know, there was some justification of, okay, if some things go up and some things go down, you know, it all washes out. Well, I mean, in this environment, you expect anything to go down? So, I mean, I don't know how you guys are going to do this, but I think that this is administratively, I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I think I do agree with Mr. Collins. I think it's a bad precedent. You know, you could have done them, I mean, there's only 5 of them. You could have done them individually. Second thing is, nowhere in the materials or in any of the questions did anybody talk about what's the debt service on this thing? Anybody know? Probably not. That's all right. It was a trick question. I didn't expect you to. I was just down on the Bloomberg there, okay? Now, this is blended. It's not Massachusetts, but it's kind of indicative. 30-year munis are yielding 3.46 right now. And with my little financial calculator, assuming you run it out to the 30, which you said you weren't going to do because of the fire truck. So, I mean, at best case, the debt service on this thing is going to be a bit north of $400,000. So where are we going to get that money? So, I mean, if you're going to roll it into the tax base, don't you think you want to do the calculation and say, okay, how is this going to impact the average homeowner in Mashpee? I mean, how much is this going to drive his property tax bill up? Again, I don't know how you make that decision to approve this thing without that information. But again, that's just me. I lack vision, I guess. I was going to add one other thing. I forget it. Hey, I come back in 2 weeks. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.
It didn't get beat this week.
Very concise. Was there anyone else for public comment? Moving on, appointments and hearings. We're going to go to, is it 6:35 yet?
Yep. By the time you read it.
Yeah. If we could have the clerk read the public hearing notice?
Sure. I'll read off the sheet. Pursuant to Chapter 138, Section 16A of the Massachusetts General Laws, the Select Board, acting as the local licensing authority for the town of Mashpee, will conduct a public hearing on the 2023 seasonal alcohol beverage and entertainment license renewals. Said hearing will be held on Monday, March 20th, 2023, at 6:35 in the Point Meeting Room in the Mashpee Town Hall, 16 Great Neck Road, Mashpee, Massachusetts.
Thank you. So, first item on the public hearing. It looks like we did receive notice from the town manager's office that the seasonal alcohol beverages licenses and entertainment license renewals for the year 2023. There were no findings. The building department has verified that all licensed establishments have passed building fire inspections. The health agent has verified that there are no violations to report. The office received no notice of no violations from the police chief. The treasurer collector's office has confirmed that all licensed establishments are current on their property taxes. All license holders have submitted proof of workers' compensation insurance as mandated by state law, as well as proof of liquor liability insurance as well. So we have a few package stores and then a few restaurants. We'll go through the list in order. The first one I have is the package stores. I'd accept a motion to approve Mashpee Mart.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair, it's a public hearing. so
Oh,
check with the
I'm sorry,
public
getting a little ahead of myself. Is there any discussion, any comments from the public on the package store renewals or restaurant renewals? Specifically the Mashpee Mart? Any public input on the rapid refill? Papaneset Fresh Market. Under the restaurants, all alcohol, cooked seafood. Any comments or concerns with the Lure? Comments or concerns with Bob's Seafood Cafe? Comments or concerns with the Raw Bar? Comments, concerns with New Seabury Athletic Club and Pool? Comments or concerns with the Papaneset Inn? That is all of the listed items, I believe, establishments. Since there are no comments, anyone from members of the board have any comments or concerns on any of these items?
Nope.
Hearing none, I'd accept a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Hearing a first and second, any discussion? Hearing none, Carol?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Yes.
Michaela?
Yes.
I'm a yes as well. The motion to close the public hearing passed unanimously. So at this time, I'd like to accept a motion to approve seasonal alcohol beverages entertainment license renewals for the Mashpee Mart.
So moved.
Second.
Hearing a first and second, any discussion? Hearing none. Michaela?
Yes.
Yes.
Tom? John?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
I'm a yes as well. Motion passes. Motion to approve 2023 seasonal alcohol beverages and entertainment license renewals for Rapid Refill.
So
So,
Second.
Hearing a first and second, any discussion? Hearing none. Carol?
yes.
John?
Yes.
Yes.
Tom? Michaela?
Yes.
I'm a yes as well. That motion passes unanimously. Motion to approve 2023 seasonal alcohol beverages and entertainment license renewals for the Papaneset Fresh Market.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Hearing a first and second, any discussion? Hearing none. Michaela?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
And I'm a yes as well. That motion passes unanimously. Moving on to restaurants. I'd accept a motion to approve 2023 seasonal alcoholic beverages and entertainment license renewals for Cook Seafood.
So moved.
Second.
Hearing a first and second, any discussion? Hearing none. Carol?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Tom? Michaela?
Yes.
I'm a yes as well. Motion to approve 2023 seasonal alcoholic beverages and entertainment license renewals for the Bob's Seafood Cafe.
So moved.
Hearing a first and second, any discussion? Hearing none. Carol?
Yes.
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Tom? Michaela?
Yes.
I'm a yes as well. That motion passes unanimously also. I'd accept a motion to approve 2023 seasonal alcoholic beverages and entertainment license renewals for Bob's Seafood Cafe. Oh, did I? Whoops.
Rabba.
The Raw Bar,
Missed the Lord.
the Lure. That's, all right, that's what I missed. Motion to approve 2023 seasonal alcoholic beverages and entertainment license renewals for the Lure
So
Restaurant.
moved.
Second.
Hearing a first and second, any discussion? Hearing none. Michaela?
Yes.
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Carol? I'm a yes as well. That motion passes unanimously. Motion to approve 2023 seasonal alcoholic beverages and entertainment license renewals for the Raw Bar.
So moved.
Second.
Hearing a first and second, any discussion? Hearing none. Michaela?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Yes.
John? Carol?
Yes.
I'm a yes as well. That motion passes unanimously. Motion to approve 2023 seasonal alcoholic beverages and entertainment license renewals for the New Seabury Athletic Club and Pool Restaurant.
So moved.
Second.
Hearing a first and second, any discussion? Hearing none. Carol?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Yes.
Tom? Michaela?
Yes.
I'm a yes as well. That motion passes unanimously. Last but not least, the motion to approve 2023 seasonal alcoholic beverages and entertainment license renewals for the Papaneset Inn.
So moved.
Second.
Hearing a first and second, any discussion? Hearing none. Michaela?
Yes.
Yes.
Tom? John? Carol? I'm a yes as well. That motion is unanimous by all present. That motion passes as well. Thank you, everyone. Moving on, we have our presentation by Bob Sanborn. Welcome back. The Cape Cod Regional Technical High School fiscal year 2024 budget.
All right. Good evening, everyone. It's good to be back.
Good.
It's been a little over a year, I think.
It's good to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you. First, I'd like to talk a little bit, before I get into this, a little bit about where we are with our project. We've pretty much are almost done. We haven't closed out with the MSBA, and I would be remiss if I didn't thank all of the taxpayers for their positive votes way back when, and paying for the school over a 20-year period. That I think if you've had an opportunity to see it or get an opportunity, you'll be very proud of the facility that is at 351 Pleasant Lake Avenue. Once again, a big thank you. So I'm here to present the I should say we finished phase 2 of the project, which was outfitting the fields. There's only a couple punch list items there. We are still fighting over some punch list items on the main project, but we're now in year 3 of operating within the building, so it's going very, very well. So that's the short version. So the FY24 operating budget is the work of our finance subcommittee, which Dave Bloomfield from Mashpee sits on that as well. And I want to also point out Scott McGee's service for the town of Mashpee on our school committee. Scott is a pivotal member of our negotiation subcommittee as well as the full committee. So this group, along with my business administrator, Aaron Orcutt, and myself, have been working on this since really the spring of last year, starting in August with the subcommittee, and then the budget that I'm presenting here tonight. So a little bit about enrollment from 23 to 24. We're up 11 students, and in Mashpee we're up 2 students, you can see. Which is a relatively small percentage, but good to see more students from Mashpee coming to Cape Cod Tech. And I can pretty much say that there's a healthy amount of applications from Mashpee for next year's freshman class as well. So Mashpee accounts for about 7.5% of our overall enrollment, with it's really Yarmouth and Barnstable that have the largest, more than half of our overall enrollment at the school. This is a look over the last several years. You'll see where we were in FY19. It was actually FY18 FY20 where we reached a low of 570 students. We were in the middle of the project at that point, of getting the project up and running. But it's been a steady increase in enrollment since then. And I think we can say that for the town of Mashpee, it's been pretty steady. And we dropped to about 44 students a couple years ago, but we're back to 50. And as I said, there's a good amount of applications from Mashpee for the freshman year next year. So we're at 664 students in total. Unfortunately, we have a waiting list. Fortunately and unfortunately, we have a waiting list to get into our school over the last couple of years. We've had one, and it's grown a little bit more this admission season. I am presenting a 3.86% increase over FY23. You'll see that from 18 through 23, I hope you feel as though we've been good stewards of the taxpayers' money. However, for all the reasons I'm sure you already know, mostly inflation, and that's not only inflation of goods and services and materials, but also wage inflation. This budget represents a 3% increase for our teachers and a 3% increase for our aides, and then a 4% for custodians and food service workers. So you see the history. It was difficult to get it under 4 this year, given the state of the economy. So where does the money come from? It still comes a lot from the assessments from the towns, but it has changed a bit. The Student Opportunity Act that was enacted by the legislature several years ago, they've been phasing in more state aid. And where we get a lot of money in our foundation budget is for our students with disabilities and our students that are economically disadvantaged, which is, that population is almost over 50% now, students with economically disadvantaged, and the current breakdown for students with disabilities is 22%. So that has had along with the Student Opportunity Act, that factors in greater amounts of aid for those populations. That's why we're seeing an increase in state aid. For the first time then, since I've really been doing this job, that we've seen appreciable increases in the amount of aid to our school. And then we're devoting $665,000 primarily from our excess and deficiency fund to defray the cost of assessments as well. There's a little bit of local like facility rental money as well going towards the budget. So just a history of that. You see finally that red area is ticked up in FY24, just noting that state aid has increased because of the Student Opportunity Act. And I think we can kind of depend on that. Also, aid's up a bit because the amount of students is up as well. So it's kind of a double whammy there, which has slowed the growth of assessments as the primary, actually assessments as a percentage came down for the first time in quite a while of total revenue for this budget. And this is just really in table form of the graph I just showed you. And we're trying to devote a good amount of excess and deficiency because our E&D account is at very close to maximum, so that's why we're able to do that over the last several years. As you can see, from 21 on, we've been doing sizable increases or sizable amounts from E&D, from local revenue, to help the assessment picture. So on the expense side, we're still in the people business, and the teacher's salaries is the largest portion of this budget at almost 35% of the total. But then within other line items, you have the administrator salaries, you have as I've said before, maintenance, custodial, food service, and our aides are in that as well. Another area that is a big portion is our retiree benefits. Is nearly 5% of our budget now goes to just supplying the health benefits and dental benefits for our retirees. That's that area on the bottom left there. And then other areas, insurance has gone up a bit, and insurance benefits at 11.4% of the entire budget.
What is support services?
Support services is our aides. It can be things like psychological services, mental health services, that kind of stuff. It's a big bucket. And this is just that pie chart that, or the previous in number form. As once again, teacher salaries is the largest percentage of the overall budget. So first, the capital debt. We are now in year 5, believe it or not, of paying for the school. in a declining, fixed principal, declining debt schedule. So I think that was a really smart decision by a joint effort of all the finance people from all the 12 towns way back when. I think it's, I hope, easing the burden as we go along here of the new facility. And we borrowed that at 3.32%, which at one point looked a little high. Doesn't look very high now. So we'll keep an eye on that, though. So the debt assessment for Mashpee for FY24 is $444,810. And then when you total that with the $981,293 for the operating budget that I'm presenting this evening, you're at a 1.426103, $1,426,000, just over that for total assessments for operating and the debt on the new school. We're still members of the Plymouth County OPEB Trust, which all of you know, OPEB, other post-employment benefits. We're really eating away into it. We're told we're in one of the best positions in that OPEB trust, where we are funding our liability, the total of it, about 13% of it so far, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it's been a long road getting to that point. And we have a schedule that has us retiring it in, I believe, 2039. If fully funding our liability for primarily health insurance for everybody in the organization. And that is the end of my formal remarks. So everybody has a line item budget and also the PowerPoint presentation. I'd open it up to questions.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Yes, open up the questions to members of the board. John?
Just a couple easy ones. You mentioned about you're at max capacity.
So we were built for 650 students. We're over that. But the MSBA builds for 85% utilization. So there is some room to go past 650, probably about 10 to 15% more students. So that gets you over 700. It's like 720 we could possibly get in there. The academic side of that is a little tricky, but technically we could definitely do it. We're currently taking classes of between 175 and 180 students.
Is there any one or two shops that are like at way or at max capacity, or?
So the popular shops, really all of them, when the exploratory process is over for the freshmen, virtually all of them are full, with a couple possible exceptions. But the big popular shops right now are all the construction, HVAC in particular, and not last year, but the year before and the year before that, culinary had a resurgence in popularity as well. And then all the autos and the Transportation Academy shops, Auto Tech, Auto Collision, and Marine are very popular as well. And then you go, so they're really almost all full when all is said and done. Now, not every student gets their first choice. About 85 to 90% of our students get their first choice of shop after the exploratory process. But there's only a few spots left.
Okay.
Thank you, John.
Anyone else?
Did you add
Carol?
anything this year?
Programs?
Yeah.
No, but we are looking at a farm. So 374 Main Street is a property that's owned by the town of Harwich. It's about 1.5 miles away from our school. And we're trying to work with for an intermunicipal lease agreement with the town of Harwich. However, we're working out some legal issues because it was purchased with open space funds. So we have to work through the legality because we're going to want to put some structures on that property. So that's something we're working out. So it's not a done deal by any means, but we'd like to go into animals, vet tech, and animal science, and potentially natural resource management or environmental technology, which would allow to add programming in the future. But that is probably 3 to 4 years away because it's going to take first being able to get into a lease, which we're not ready to say that yet, and then it's going to be accumulating the funds to
Is
do
this
it.
that property that's right down the street from the school?
No, it's about a mile and a half. It's on Main Street, you kind of go down Queen Anne Road and you take a left. If you can think of, go out of the school to the left, go across the highway, down to the four-way, take the right, go all the way to the end. That's Main Street if you take the left, and it's on the left. It's 374 Main Street. So it's got a couple cranberry bogs on it. It's got 33 acres, and we would want to put classrooms there. There's a dilapidated barn we'd have to restore, and then there'd be other structures we'd have to put on there, like for storage and for classrooms and potentially a clinic for animals. There's a lot of logistics to deal with before we ever get that up and running. But that's the only thing we're entertaining on the new programming front.
It's a simple question. But just thinking about it with the population change, a lot of seniors, families moving out rather than staying. How is that, or will you see that as potentially being a negative effect? Or
We see a lot. When I look at withdrawal reports from our school, about 50% of them are moving off Cape. Okay.
Right, which
So
eliminates a large portion
Right,
of
there's some-
students.
it does. I mean, they're probably not coming back because of, well, we know the reason, housing. So,
Right.
yeah. So that is an issue, and it's an issue with hiring as well. I'm sure everybody's dealing with that at the town level as well, that the housing issue is impacting hiring this year. For the first time, I did not have all my teachers in place come the beginning of school. And that, I only see that getting more difficult, especially in certain areas.
Right. No, it's a tough one. Well, if anyone can do it, you'll do it. You did a great job so far.
Thank you, Tom.
So a couple things with the farm service and things.
Yeah.
The USDA's got a lot of money out there right now
Okay.
that I see that, promoting different types of activities and things, and will offset some cost for different types of farm practices.
Okay.
I think I asked last time, kind of, is the school heading in any kind of direction with renewables and promoting programs or developing programs that align with the new industries that are coming around as far as renewables?
I'm glad you asked that question. So the new building does have solar panels on it, so the students are exposed to that. And then they also learn how to install solar panels in our electrical program and carpentry program. So we don't have a program in renewables, but our existing programs offer parts of their curriculum to renewable energy. And then we just got a grant from the Capital Skills Grant last year for electric vehicles in our automotive shop. So we're gonna be getting 4 or 5 2007, 2008 type electric vehicles that the students can work on, and then we're going to get a newer car as well as a part of that grant. It was a $226,000 grant, and we already have the charging station in Auto Tech. We've sourced 3 of the cars already. They're older, they're so they can be taken apart and looked at. There's a lot of safety issues with working on EV vehicles too, so a lot of that grant is dealing with the safety. You basically have to cordon off the bay and put up all these safety things because of the high voltage nature of an EV vehicle. So I'm saying that like I know what I'm talking about.
Good job, you got me convinced.
Don't touch the wires.
Yeah, exactly.
The only other thing is that, looking at the revenue source versus the operating budget, it looks like the operating budget's, it's aggressively going higher, but, some of the other areas, they don't seem to be following pace. So are you anticipating any kind of shortfalls, and are you creatively thinking of ways different areas to approach funding? I don't know if it's through grants and supplementing with grant funds or anything like that.
Yeah.
I keep, bringing up the infrastructure bill, and then I think even the state negotiates when they do the power purchase agreements with some of the offshore wind and stuff, there's some sort of educational benefits to things that are related with renewable energies. And I don't know if there's a way to somehow loop in a part of your program to where you would be eligible for some of those state funds through the economic, I forget the acronym on the office.
Right. Yeah, I don't know right here, but I can look into that. But I don't have a specific answer to that right now.
I just, looking at the chart, the operating budgets, it's going up pretty rapid, and the rest are staying about the same
Right.
as best they can. So just raises concern.
Yeah. This year in particular, it went up sizable. I mean, prior to this year, they've been pretty modest increases of anywhere under 2%. If you looked at the history, that was one of the first or second couple slides. But this year, it has spiked, definitely. But you'll note that the assessment in that slide you're referring to, so the blue there is the overall operating budget. And for the first time in a long time, the assessment, what we're asking from the towns, went down a little bit. A paltry amount, but still went down. And that was mainly because state aid increased, and we were able to put a little more local revenue towards the budget as well.
No, thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions from the board? Town manager? None? All right, thank you for your presentation.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Good seeing you.
Discussion and approval of the following resignations and appointments. First, we have a resignation from Conservation Commission, Brian Whedon, whose term was to expire June 3rd, 2023, June 30th, 2023. I do have a letter from Brian. It looks like, as an elected official, it was brought to his attention as an elected official. He's not to serve as an appointee on other committees, so in recognition of that, he is stepping down at this time and appreciates the opportunity to serve the town and is offering himself to help out where he can if the need arises. So if we accept, I'd accept a motion for the resignation of Brian Whedon from the Conservation Commission with a letter of thanks.
So moved.
Second.
Hearing a first and second, any discussion? Hearing none. Michaela?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
I'm a yes as well. That motion passes unanimously. I accept a motion to accept and approve the resignation of Brian Whedon from the Historical Commission with the same stipulations.
So moved.
Second.
Hearing a first and second, any discussion? Hearing none. Carol?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Yes.
Michaela?
Yes.
I'm a yes as well. That motion's unanimous. Then we have, I'd accept a motion to appoint to the Sewer Commission as a member at large for the term to expire June 30th, 2023, Aaron Copeland.
Second.
Hearing a first and second, any discussion? Aaron did put forth a letter of interest, and the Sewer Commission did vote to recommend Aaron Copeland unanimously, I believe.
Yep.
And so, taking that recommendation, any further discussion?
I just want to say that Erin is here tonight.
Aaron, would you, does any of the members of the board have any questions or concerns for Aaron?
Do you want me to come up?
It doesn't look like anyone has any questions, so
I just wanted
it
to
was
point out that she was
precautionary
here.
to ask you to come in.
Sounds like she wants to.
You know,
I'm happy to come talk to you, but
if you'd like to come forward,
I know you have a
feel,
full
feel,
schedule.
feel free to come forward and introduce yourself.
I'll just come up and say.
My apologies.
No, I just wanted to thank you for having me and for endorsing me. And I had a whole thing prepared in my head that I was going to say, but I just wanted to let you know that I'm on the Conservation Commission as well, as you know. I met my husband in Mashpee 16 years ago. We wandered the earth in New England for a while. We had a child, we got married, we came back. I promised my son we're here for good, we're planted, I am getting involved in the town, and part of that involvement is getting on the sewer commission, because as a Realtor, I just wanted you to know, this is why I'm interested in it. We go out to open houses, and I have clients, and they say, oh, the sewer's coming, like, sure, like it's a mythical creature somewhere that's coming, and I don't feel comfortable not knowing the answers. And when I changed brokerages recently, I went to the leadership said to me, you seem like a person who likes answers. And I said, yes. So I'm not comfortable not knowing the answers, and that's exactly why I wanted to get on the sewer commission, so I could speak the truth and go out there and spread, the correct information and just kind of be an ambassador for.
And then you can share that with the realtors.
Yes, and I had the Conservation Commission at my brokerage 2 weeks ago to give a presentation, so I'm happy to do the same with the Sewer Commission as well. So, but anyway, that's,
Lucky to have you.
yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
It's great.
So far, you sound like the right person for the job.
Yeah, well, we'll see if I can deal with 2 commissions, and a job, and a child, and 2 dogs, but I'm going to do my best.
Got your
Thank
hands
you.
full.
Thanks very much.
Appreciate it. Hearing no further discussion, Carol?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Yes.
Michaela? I'm a yes as well. That motion passes unanimously as well. Welcome to the Sewer Commission. I believe that was the last one on that. Communications and correspondence. I don't believe there were any. Old business, none. New business. Discussion and approval of the draft number 3 of the May 1st, 2023 special and annual town meeting warrant articles. First matter is the addition of article to accept provisions of the Mass General Laws, Chapter 83, subsection 15C and subsection 15D with regards to the sewer betterment assessments.
It's on the bottom of the memorandum, dated March 16th, right?
Second page, got it.
I have it. It starts actually on the first page.
Yeah, from Town Council Article 12, they're referring to it as
We've got
the
to do-
adoption of, I take a motion to recommend and approve for town warrant, the adoption of these local option sewer assessment provisions that would permit the town to proceed in accordance with these statutes rather than pursuant to the general betterment assessments provision of General Law, Chapter 80, subsection 13 presently. Subsection 13 authorizes the town to collect interest on betterment assessments at a rate of 5% or at the election of the town, at a rate of up to 2% above the rate of interest charged to the town for the project's financing. Section 13 also provides that upon commitment of the assessments by the collector, the Board of Assessors may, and at the request of the owner of the land assessed shall, apportion all assessments or unpaid balances thereof into such number of equal portions, not exceeding 20, as is determined by said board or as requested by the owner. If accepted, the subject local option statute, Chapter 83, subsection 15C and D, would authorize the town to assess and collect interest on an unpaid balance of a sewer betterment assessment at a rate of up to 2%, above the net rate of interest chargeable to the town for the project to which the assessment relates, and to apportion all future sewer assessments or unpaid balances of assessments over a period not to exceed 30 years, and to structure the payments so that the amounts payable for principal and interest combined in the respective years are nearly equal as practicable. These equal payments may be further apportioned and collected by the town on quarterly tax bills at the option of the town, An owner of land assessed would still be able to pay the total remaining principal amount due without any prepayment penalty. These local option statutes can be adopted jointly by separate warrant articles. A majority vote of the town meeting is required to accept the statutes. Assuming that the town intends to implement both the interest and apportionment provisions with respect to future sewer assessments, I recommend a single article. That was from town manager.
You need to add that article?
Did you
Yes, we would need the board to add that, and it was something that was brought to our attention legislatively, and then in addition, council prepared this, and obviously, I believe the assistant manager may have briefed, and we are recommending that you add it.
And it's already part of, it's Article 12 stated in the book as well,
As
right?
you are.
So it's the same thing.
Yes, we just placed it in the book rather than waste time because we had
Correct.
spoken to the selectmen individually.
So it is in our book on 16 and 17.
Okay.
It's not a duplicate, it's the same.
No, it
Okay.
So a motion to approve.
Accept a motion to approve, they're identifying it as Article 12, found on page 16, 17, listed as sewer betterment provisions.
A motion
Can I-
to approve and recommend.
I
Approve
would
to
add
recommend.
first and then approve and recommend.
To add.
isn't. Even though it's in here, you
Yes.
did not officially add it to the.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you have to vote to.
So the motion is to add Article 12, found on page 16 and 17, sewer betterment provisions select board.
Yes, sir.
So moved.
Second,
Hearing a first and second. Any discussion? Michaela?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
John?
yes.
Carol?
Yes.
And I'm a yes as well.
You'll have to make a motion to recommend Article 12.
All right. Entertaining a motion to move and recommend Article 12, found on page 16 and 17, identified as sewer betterment provisions.
So moved.
Second.
Hearing a first and second, any discussion? Hearing none. Carol?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Michaela?
Yes.
I'm a yes as well. That motion is unanimous to approve and recommend.
Pages 19 through 21.
We gotta jump around now, so.
Yeah, I had a second sheet
Gotta
on
fill in
the
all the
last one.
holes, so.
We could add those money figures into the contracts.
Well, excuse me, Mr. Chair, do you want to go that route, or, I'm sorry, I don't have my mic on. Do you want to go that route, or do you want to have the discussion on those articles prior to you doing the last part? You have a discussion
Right
from
now, the way
solar-
it's listed on the agenda is we actually have Planning Board Chair Mary Wagon,
Yes.
then Town Planner Evan Laher, and Department of Public Works Kathleen Laurent here to speak to those. I'd prefer having them come forward in case they wanted to leave, and then we can take on the other issues upon completion of that portion. So we're going to stick to the agenda.
And Mr. Chair, the DPW director is not coming in. We had spoken to Selectman Colombo, and she was okay. She understood what she was waiting now, so she is not here.
I think there were some questions.
My,
That's fair.
my questions were addressed. Thank you.
All right. Hello, Mary.
Hi, everybody.
Welcome, good
So
evening.
Evan's gonna pull up the PowerPoint. You should have something like this in your packet.
Yes, ma'am.
And if anybody in the audience wants a copy, there's a copy up here. Do you want it right now? Okay. Okay, so good evening for the record. My name is Mary Wagon. I'm the chair of the Mashpee Planning Board, and I'm here to talk to you tonight about the articles that are in your warrant. They should be numbered 30, 31, and 32 in draft number 3. And they're what I call the solar bylaw. The purpose of this zoning bylaw amendment is to increase the protection of our public health, safety, and welfare. as you know, Massachusetts is encouraging the production of solar energy in our Commonwealth to generate clean and cheap electricity. Solar energy systems are protected by Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 3, which states, quote, "No zoning ordinance or bylaw shall prohibit or unreasonably regulate the installation of solar energy systems or the building of structures that facilitate the collection of solar energy, except where necessary to protect public health, safety, or welfare." So this statute protects solar energy systems. And basically, if you don't adequately zone for solar energy systems in your town, you could be a target of a clever court case that, if it went the wrong way, could allow solar energy systems anywhere in town without any protection for public health, safety, or welfare. So what do we have now? Oh, no, I'm sorry. You're right. Go back. Yep. So anyways, the state statute was put to the test in a recent court case. It was Tracer Lane Realty LLC versus the City of Waltham. And in 2022, the court overruled a Waltham decision which denied an access road to a solar energy system which cut through a residential district, citing that the City of Waltham zoned too little land in their city, just 2%, for solar energy systems. Now, we've been waiting for that court case to come out for a while. It came out, I think, June or July of 2022. And that prompted the town planner and the planning board to look at our local zoning to see if we ourselves would be a target for something like that. The main questions that I was asking is, does Mashpee have enough land zoned for solar energy systems? And would Mashpee be a target for similar systems? It is interesting to note that while, these systems are protected by Mass General Law, that court case did also, and you can see it's the second paragraph up on the slide, it did also note that, quote, "The preservation of residential character of neighborhoods is a legitimate municipal purpose to be achieved by local zoning control." So we can put some limits to these systems. So what do we have now? So this shows you the top table is what we have now, and then the proposed bylaw is below. So what we have now is we allow small systems that are 1,750 square feet in area or less in every part of town. Residential, commercial 1, commercial 2, commercial 3, and industrial 1. Anything larger than that right now is allowed in industrial I-1 only. And our performance standards for those systems are pretty slim. They just say neighboring properties are protected from glare, but they don't really say why, not like how, right? That systems are properly fenced or otherwise secured, that's pretty vague. And no hazardous materials are stored on site in quantities greater than permitted in other sections of the bylaw. What the new bylaw would allow is it would allow the town to have more protection. It would allow more land to be zoned for energy systems and have stronger performance standards. So the proposed bylaw, again, would allow small systems in residential, commercial 1 and 2, C1 and 2, commercial 3, and industrial I. It would also allow medium-sized systems and large systems. So medium systems are anything that are an area between 1,750 square feet to 40,000 square feet, and a large system is anything over 40,000 square feet. And those would be allowed in commercial C1, C2, and industrial I1. But so it would give you more land. Hopefully that would lower our liability for any type of court case. That would cite that we didn't have enough land cited for this. It would protect our residential areas, like the court case said we could, right? And also, it would introduce much better, stronger performance standards. So the performance standards are listed there. The next slide has our zoning bylaw, has our new zoning, summary of our new zoning and the zoning bylaw. in case you wanted Evan to point out where all these districts are. But the next slide I wanted to bring you through those performance standards. So one thing and we relied heavily, and David, I think you, and Tom, and John, and Carol, I think you might remember, we brought something like this similar about, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 years ago. And we relied heavily on the model bylaw that the state put out. It's pretty good. So anyways, the bylaw, if it passed, it would require visual impact mitigation, which means the system would be screened year-round from all roadways and adjacent properties in residential use. It has a schedule of setbacks. They vary from 25 feet from an industrial property, 50 feet from conservation land and commercial property, 100 feet from the road, driveway, water, wetland, or residential use, 125 feet from an inhabited residence, and 200 feet from a river. That's from the Rivers Protection Act. And also, all inverters, energy systems, and transmission systems, substations, would have to be 200 feet away from a residence. And that's because sometimes there are fires at these facilities. So that's really important. Also, there's a landscape plan required. The landscape plan requires to replicate a naturally wooded area and/or berm with suitable plantings to screen neighboring properties and roadways. So you can see the picture to the right is of a system. I believe that's the Barnstable Fairgrounds.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, I beg your pardon, that's Ashland and 151.
Okay. You can see the systems are not that attractive, right? So we were really, we have strong things in this bylaw to maintain the scenic and natural beauty of the town. Okay, next slide, please. There's also a lighting plan so that the lighting doesn't disturb neighbors. Okay, this next one is very interesting. These are things that you'd never think you'd have to learn by sitting on a planning board, but vegetative management. Our bylaw would require that all vegetation is kept at a height to manage the combustible materials in case of a fire. It has to be removed mechanically and not with herbicides, pesticides, or any kind of chemical method. And it would also limit what kind of chemicals could be used on the site and encourages native plantings, not invasive species. So they're all things that the state figured out we should have in our bylaw. And you can see from that first upper photo, if they don't manage the vegetation correctly, the plants just grow right through the systems. And they get so hot, they can cause a fire. And they can combust. And you can go online and see pictures of these on fire. It's awful. Anyways, fencing, there'd be a residential style fencing. Important that it's a residential style, so it's not just a chain link fence, with a 6-inch clearance on the bottom so animals can go in and out. And that there's a land clearing and a soil erosion plan. That's to prevent, if this area is developed as already a golf course, it prevents the topsoil from being removed. Okay, because a lot of these systems, they're estimating that it's going to be there for like 15 to 20 years, and then the site can be used for something else. And it has to have a soil erosion plan in case that land is forested. Right? If the land is cleared of all the trees, then you're going to have absolutely no erosion control. And so you can't have that going into neighboring wetland or natural resource areas or the roads, into drainage systems. Okay, next slide. Okay. A stormwater management plan is required, which is good because the state wants that. There's also, in our bylaw, a maintenance plan is required. These systems are going to be outdoors for years after year after year. So our bylaw would require the system to be maintained in good condition. And it would prohibit the use of any solar panels manufactured with PFAS. So they were finding that some of these systems were made with panels with PFAS and then abandoned, and then they polluted the land and the water. Then the the most important thing, I think, here is the requirement of a decommission plan. We don't want the company that installs these, what if they just take off, they go bankrupt, they're gone? What do we do with the system that's left behind in our town? They have to provide us with a decommissioning plan and also a surety. So if they're abandoned, the town has some financial resources to go and clean up the site. And I think that's it. I think that's it. I thank you for your patience going through all of that. I know you all read it beforehand, but I thought it was important. You know, this basically, you know, it increases the land that the town has set aside for this type of zoning use. That lowers our liability for an aggressive court case, and it also really beefs up our performance standards for these systems. So just for the public, the planning board is going to hold the public hearing on this matter on April 19th at 7:10 p.m. in the Wacoit Meeting Room here at Mashpee Town Hall. Again, town meeting is May 1st, and for more information, people can contact Evan Lair, our town planner.
Mary, this would eliminate what happened in Sandwich on Route 130.
So that is zoned residential, so yes. If they had adopted this zoning.
You wouldn't see that.
Right.
It wouldn't be so close to the farm and the road.
And we feel we have an excellent argument. If you can go back to the court case slide. See, we think we have an excellent argument to protect our residential zone because the preservation of residential character of neighborhoods is a legitimate municipal purpose to be achieved by local zoning control.
Any members of the board?
I'm not through. I'm
Oh,
going to say a few things.
Okay.
Okay, we absolutely need the stronger bylaw, and the reason we need it is because of the Tracer Lane versus City of Waltham case. Let me just go through that case with you so you know how serious this is and how careful we have to be. Here are the facts. The developer, owner of Tracer Lane, the developer wants to build a solar energy system on land in Lexington, which is zoned commercial. He also owns a land, I guess, contiguous to this in Waltham, Massachusetts, which is zoned residential. He needs to build an access road to get to that Lexington site. The building inspector in Waltham says you can't do it because this is a residential district here, and you're trying to do a commercial application. So the developer files suit in land court that the prohibition to build the access road is not right because that Chapter 40, could you put that back, Evan?
40A.
Chapter 40, Section 3 says, can you go back?
It's right there.
I'm sorry. No zoning ordinance or bylaw shall prohibit or unreasonably regulate the installation of solar energy systems or the building of structures. That's what that is. The access road is the building of structures that facilitate the collection of solar energy, except where necessary to protect the public health, safety, or welfare. So when we were thinking about this, 3 of us on the board felt we didn't want it in residential. We would prefer not to have it in residential. We were letting it go in the commercial zones and in industrial, which we already had. So when this case went up to the Supreme Court, because the developer won in the land court, the Supreme Court affirmed the same decision, affirmed it, said, you're right, you can build this access road. One of the things that I noted in the case is the High Court did not state in anything here that they must allow solar in every municipality, because we cannot unreasonably regulate this. That's the key thing. But the good thing is what is quoted, it's the Rogers versus Norfolk case at 432 Mass 37, 374, which states, "Preservation of residential character of neighborhoods is a legitimate municipal purpose to be achieved by local zoning control." I'm kind of hanging my hat on that, but I hope this is not getting too weedy for you here. But we have to look at no zoning ordinance, blah, 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 except, you can change it, necessary to, except if it's necessary to protect the public health, safety, and welfare. And I'm going to argue is to avoid a court case, as Mary said. We have to look at the welfare of our citizens. So we can loosely define, and this is very loose, our welfare as well-being, comfort, happiness, having a place to live, a good place to live, whether it's a small house or a big house or whatever. It's important to help ensure our well-being. The Waltham case says this is legitimate. A residential character of neighborhoods is a legitimate method to control, to be achieved by local zoning. My argument is we have limited buildable residential space left. We have an affordable housing shortage. You can't buy. People can't buy. They can't afford to rent. This is serious. If we build medium or large systems on residential land, we are not preserving the residential character of the neighborhoods, are we? We're tying up that land for 20 or maybe 30 years or more that could perhaps the land could be put to better use for restricted open space, recreation space, or some affordable housing. In law here, this town and all towns here protect the public health, safety, and welfare by adopting and enforcing land use regulations that promote a public benefit to the community. I submit that we have no public benefit to subject our residential land to medium and large solar systems, and it will not enhance, if we did so, will not enhance the preservation of the residential character of our neighborhood. We have to work on those arguments. This is a very rough thing because it's a heavy-duty thing. So if we need something more, we can come back in October. But we have a great plan here. As Carol, you talked about what's going on down in Falmouth. I guess they don't have anything about vegetated buffers. Ours are vegetated big buffers, so you're not going to see this thing. And it's got to be all year round. So when the winter comes and the leaves leave the trees, we have some evergreens and things there because we don't want to see it. It's a really terrible sight down at Ashumet and 151 on both sides of the street. Thank you. Do you have any questions for Mary?
So I think is the members of the board, are you good with the background? Evan, could you walk us through the Articles 30, 31, or whoever wants to just speak to kind of the individual articles so we understand exactly what we're...
Mr. Chair, if I may just ask one question of these
Yes.
women. You had talked about vegetation, looking at 151 and the car ports or whatever they are, they've got solar there.
Yeah.
How does that affect the town and what they're doing with those solar-type panels?
How does it affect
Our town.
our town?
If we were to put in these type of solar panels, are we also under regulations to try to vegetate or?
This is what we're writing here in this bylaw, that we're going to have good vegetation.
Karen, I can answer this question.
You
if
answer
like.
it.
Wayne, I think you're specifically asking about solar facilities that are in like parking lots, like at Christ the King and at the Barnstable County Fairgrounds at Mashpee Commons. Those
But
are
it's
current.
also, we also have them going in at the high school and the Casey Coon.
Yeah, so this article would bear no impact on any municipal property owner or commercial property owner to deploy such facilities on pre-existing and already approved parking lots, nor would it prevent any municipal or commercial property owner thereafter to have a project permitted to include solar panels. We actually recently, at a recent town meeting, allowed for a new exception in our land space requirements footnotes table that allows us to, for that specific purpose, to exceed the minimum lot coverage requirements. The way we calculate lot coverage in the town of Mashpee is about the horizontal cross-section of any structure. So it would be the actual panel itself, not the structure it's standing on. So often if you have a church, for example, with numerous buildings and parking area, you might be pushing right up against that 20% lot coverage. So we allowed that exception to, by right, place those solar carports in any existing or to be permitted commercial or municipal facility.
These are for
Okay, so your long-winded way of
these are
saying
for
it won't impact the town.
ground-mounted systems, so not carports, not anything on a
Oh,
roof.
this is strictly ground, okay, thank you. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, this is fixed tilt ground-mounted panels that exceed 1,750 square feet.
And they have a height limit of 15 feet. And so that should be, there should be reasonable landscaping that can block that, right? Because a carport, you're talking about huge
That's what
trees.
I'm getting at.
Right, but no, it's ground-mounted systems.
Do we have any commercial land where this would be acceptable
Yes.
left? We do?
Sure. I mean, the way that this article is written, it would expand solar uses from beyond the industrial districts to also the C1 and the C2 zoning districts. So there might be structures standing there now, but they could be potentially redeveloped as solar. Also, all of the land area in the C1 district in and around the Mashpee Rotary that is undeveloped would be allowed to develop solar energy systems.
And remember, when you change zoning, its effect isn't dependent on whether that parcel of land is already developed or not. Do you know what I mean? So that's not going to, we're saying we're expanding our land. Well, even if all our commercial space was developed, it still protects us. But if you look right behind you on the zoning map, that whole area in red is C1. So it's right behind you. Right. Sorry.
I know for me, I take issue with solar or something that I don't know. I don't know the state's way of incentivizing it and
David, could you speak at the microphone, please?
For me, the solar is kind of a hot issue for me. I'm on the fence on it. I feel as though, the state should have came out and mandated that, new construction, commercial construction specifically, you build it out in built environments. So parking lots, rooftops, that sort of thing.
Yep.
The way they unfolded it and they're incentivizing like green spaces as developable, and pushing it as hard as they are, I have a problem with personally. I just don't think it's the right way to go about, developing green energy. Now,
Can I respond to that, Mr.
Sure.
Chairman? So you're right. I agree with you. This court case just came out, so this is like our first town meeting to kind of address it, right? And we talked about that a little bit. We talked about, I've asked the town planner to contact the Cape Cod Commission because in these large solar farms, they require open space. So we want to discuss that a little bit. And I also asked Evan to research if we can, as the planning board and through zoning, require solar panels on large commercial developments. So we're going to work on, we'll probably have some improvements for October, but we had to do, we didn't want to put this off. Do you know what I mean? But there's more improvements. So if you have any ideas like that, I would like to know. And also, that Mass General Law, Chapter 48, Section 3, after this court case, that might need to be tweaked a little bit, and we have good relationships with our state senators and state reps on that, so.
And I guess, because as part of that, where they also noted that preservation of residential character of neighborhoods is a legitimate municipal purpose to be achieved in local zoning, that doesn't factor in the environmental benefits of green fields. It's weighed towards the built environment and residential built environments. And so, that's where I take issue with some of the ways in which the law reads.
That's a good point.
The other issue that I have is, the life cycle. These solars, typically they're 25, 30-year build-outs. They have a short life cycle. So then, what do we do with the photovoltaic materials once you're done. And so, I don't see them as, recyclable. I don't know if they've come up with a way of recycling them yet. That's another kind of primary concern where I think we're jumping the gun on how these are rolled out. I do understand that we need something. This is palatable. I can't just say no on a whim. So I think, you've gone as far as we can to try to preserve and protect what we can, and I commend you for that. I just wanted to state my position on the issues.
Yep, we'll do more research on those 4 points, definitely.
Any other members of the board have questions? I want to give Michaela a chance if.
I agree with you, particularly with regard to getting rid of green space so we have solar. That doesn't make any sense at all to me. I'm thankful to the work of the planning board, however, to protect us against whatever could happen under state law, given the Tracer case. So I think this is a really good place to begin. It's thoughtful. It allows us to have enough area for solar, which we might not have before, and yet it offers some protections. When you talked about the short lifespan, I think not only are the performance standards really important, and that we wouldn't have had, but also is it decommissioning? Yes, the decommissioning plan, so that somebody can't come and leave this field of solar systems there. So I think this is a good step in the right direction, a first step, or and the idea that you're going to bring back more for the fall or for the spring when you know more, I think is important as well.
And to that point, what is the formula for the surety on the decommissioning?
I think it's up to review. So it's a special permit. So I think it's up for review by the planning board.
I think it would be established as a unique condition of the permit pursuant to adequate quotation from the companies who do this sort of decommissioning, plus a 50% for inflation like the board always does.
So
But to be determined at the time of
yeah.
an application, as
So-
a case-by-case basis.
So we'd get with our board engineer, would figure out how much it would cost to decommission the site and clean it up. Then we would multiply that, right? We'd add 50%, just like the road sureties that we get, right? And then we get a surety, which is like an insurance bond, I guess.
Yeah.
And then if that site is ever abandoned, the town can call on that surety and get the cash to clean up the site.
I didn't know if it was based on the square footage of the build-out.
Ultimately, I think it would be determinative
As a
based on the size
formula,
and scope
yeah,
of the
yeah.
system to be decommissioned, which is why it would be more on a case-by-case basis to be evaluated at the time of an application.
But if it takes into the unique character of the environments in which it's built, then I guess that's better in the long run.
Because we usually get like a quote, like the developer gets the quote, our board engineer, who's Ed Pesci right now, they review that to make sure that it's a reasonable amount. And then the surety, you add 50%, you get a surety for that amount.
Okay.
And it's, knock on wood, that's been working for roads.
I think one thing moving forward is, just for consideration purposes, if you were to put forward things for the carports, then height, that 15-foot height, I don't know if that would be transferable to a carport situation, only because commercial trucks and things would have a
It's
hard
not
time.
currently applicable.
All right,
The 15-foot restriction is not,
all right. John?
and wouldn't be, I guess I should say.
Yeah, just a few things, but it's actually a little bit piled on the same thing. I'm seriously concerned about the removal after 20 years. So I don't know if it's has to be bonded, it has to be escrowed, because company goes out of business, whatever happens, because they're getting all this money from the state and federal government to do solar. At any moment, those programs could go away, and are we stuck with solar panels, that
Yep.
vegetation, whatever? So that, I know that it's a work in progress, but
It's in 12D.
So,
Description of financial surety for decommissioning. Proponents of ground-mounted solar energy systems shall provide a form of surety, either through escrow account, bond, or other form of surety approved by the planning board to cover cost of removal in the event the town must remove the installation and remediate the landscape.
so that'll be reviewed with the special permit, and so that's,
And something like this, like the first time around, I'm sure we'd send it to town council too.
yeah, I mean, there's a lot to that. So, the other thing is, I know you mentioned it earlier, so, again, ground systems, roof systems,
Different,
that's,
yep.
that the ground systems, the roof systems and the raised carports, those are kind of like,
They're not covered by this.
Separate issue.
right. So how would this bylaw, if it was in existence now, how would it affect the proposed, previous discussed solar on 151?
The
That,
no-
go ahead.
Sorry. The northern part of that parcel could be developed as solar, and the southerly part of that parcel, about the southerly 50%, which is in the residential district, would not be allowed to deploy any solar on that portion of that site.
Perfect. Great for that answer. All right, I have one more, I think. And again, this is probably all covered with the special permit, because I know I called you regarding Sandwich.
Right,
And
that
it-
spot on Katuitt Road and Sandwich would not be allowed to happen in Mashpee because that's zoned residential.
And it's also, to be exact, it's 51 feet.
Wow.
And it's one of those things that the second I drove by it, I actually, I called you.
He
And I
did.
said, okay, this cannot happen in Mashpee. So, that being said, I know there's wording in there as far as vegetative buffer, right? So that would all be discussed with the special permit to say, like, what kind of vegetative buffer?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
I don't wanna see it.
it'd be on the landscaping plan.
yeah, so,
I'm for the tree bylaw coming up, I hope, in October. I don't want to see one little array up there. I don't want to see anything. And the trees are going to be year-round. We'll have deciduous trees, but, we've got to be screened in the winter because we do not want to look at it.
So the buffer would be left as natural, right? If we felt there wasn't enough natural growth there, for whatever reason, there's a landscaping plan that we also require. So, for example, if the natural buffer had been damaged before or is going to be damaged during construction, we can then rely on the landscaping plan to make sure it's planted so you can't see through it.
yeah, I mean, I get it. I mean, it's a big concern. I actually went down to, is it 951? the Leclerc House. So, and I remember walking through the path, and it was all forest.
Yeah.
My understanding was they were going to walk through the forest a little bit and start clearing. To me, it looks like it's all clear cut.
It is.
And now, so there's no buffer. The buffer's gone.
Right,
So,
and I think that's why we're contemplating a tree bylaw for October, is to talk about stuff like that in
Yeah, I
town.
mean, I
Like,
just-
you can't clear cut your whole lot and then replant it.
well, that's what I'm
You
saying.
know what
'cause
I mean? Like, you can clear the piece of the land that you need to build whatever structure you're doing. But that vegetated buffer we want vegetated buffers, and we don't want them stripped and then replanted.
Yeah, I mean, I thought the 30, 40, 50 feet, that first along the border was going to stay, and they were going to clear inside of that, but that wasn't the case.
Yeah, we have to be careful with that, you're right.
It looks like a big parking lot now, and it's,
I think to that point, it's important to point out and state that for large-scale facilities, an acre and larger, it is a near impossibility to screen something that size in its totality, mostly due to topography. I mean, if you're sitting on a road and the elevation is going up on a lot, it's going to be very difficult to screen that in its totality. I don't want to make it seem as if every project we will successfully be able to screen, even with very stringent performance standards, which this does have. It's unlikely possible to screen one in its totality, mostly due to the fact that we don't have flat pancakes for lots.
Yep.
And we had a long discussion on the planning board regarding some lots on 130. They were allowed a sign. And of course, it's in the vegetated buffer, right? We had this big, long discussion, can we allow the sign or not? So we were like, of course, we have to allow the sign, right? And yes, they had to clear some of the required vegetated buffer. But with that care and that mindset, you know, that developer knew to keep as many trees along Route 130 as possible. So you know.
I think your permits should factor in the maturity of the trees in which they're cutting. So when they go in and decide to clear cut, then, you know, the requirement to replace is
Yeah.
based on the maturity of the trees that you're cutting out during a clear cutting activity. So that, you know, there's a cost benefit to, you know, mature trees are more expensive to buy and plant. So then they would reconsider clear cutting an entire lot if they have to buy mature trees to replace them on the back end. You know, so not
Right.
defining and clarifying that, I think, is the problem that I see with it. And, you know, another thing that I think comes to mind is the, you know, disposal of the full photovoltaic is mandate that's taken out of town and disposed of at a licensed facility.
I'm gonna look
I mean,
into that.
off Cape somewhere.
Just like, you know, this bylaw, the state addressed the panels that were made with PFAS. Like, we don't want those, right? They might have, there might be some research about systems that can be dismantled and recycled easily. So we'll do some research on that. That's an excellent suggestion.
Just want assurances
Not for May,
that
for
the
October.
environment's going to be taken into consideration long-term.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, John.
So, so this is an honesty question. So, can you give me some cons against these three articles? What would, if you looked at this, you know, from the outside, and I guess this probably questions to you, Evan, because I think you're pretty well versed at what would other people, what would they pull up at against these articles to
Yeah.
say
I think
why these are bad?
Well, I'll go back like 2 steps because when we discuss this with the board, there's a couple things we know. The facts are the Tracer Lane case necessitates that we reevaluate our zoning. Our current zoning bylaw is inadequate in consideration of our current unreasonable regulation and effective prohibition of solar. So in that case, someone wants to come do solar today in a residential district. They could apply for the permit. They'd likely be denied and run through the appeals process, but the appeals process would likely result in them being able to do what they would like to do, a solar use on that lot with no performance standards. So we know we have to do something. And so there are a couple, I'd say 3 options that I discussed with the board. The one you have before you is one that the majority of the planning board supported, but I'll let you know the 3 options I discussed with them. First is, like this, you've seen an expansion of solar uses throughout the town. Essentially, what we know is currently we do not zone for this particular use over enough land area to be considered reasonable. So that's one option. It's one you're presented with. Another is an overlay district where, or it could be a hybrid, but an overlay district, whereas through a planning exercise, we identify a collection of parcels or throughout the town, they don't necessarily have to be contiguous, that meet certain criteria that might be beneficial sites for this type of use. An overlay district is what you had seen be submitted by petition, probably it was over the last 3 town meetings, it feels like. And the last point that I wanted to stress with the board, and I guess I could highlight again as we carry on this discussion, is that, again, no zoning ordinance or bylaw shall prohibit or unreasonably regulate the installation of solar energy systems or the building of structures that facilitate the collection of those systems, except where necessary to protect the public health, safety, or welfare. So the Tracer Lane case really noted that they had an unreasonable restriction limiting it to about 2% of the town's overall land area, with no discussion or contemplation about why that restriction was intended to protect the public health, safety, or welfare. So you could play this very conservatively as well, and I discussed this with the board, and they wanted to go in this direction. But we could have also considered a pathway where we maintained our restriction as is, but we crafted a narrative into our zoning bylaw that stated a case for its necessity. All of these things are challengeable. I presented these options to the planning board, and the planning board debated and discussed them and voted 3-2 to submit these articles. So I think there are pros and cons to each approach. With the one before you, the main issue, I'm not going to call it an issue. The point I wanted to raise to the board as they debated these particular articles was the competition between uses in the commercial districts and the lack of vibrancy that comes along with solar. And so as we are in a limited land area, limited available land for newer redevelopment uses, housing crisis, water quality challenges, it seemed important to consider the potential for conflict between these two uses. You know, if we got to a point to want to redevelop a certain area, but we had just permitted a 40,000 square foot solar facility in the commercial districts, it seemed to me to be a bit of a competition between our current and future goals. But again, the planning board debated and discussed this issue. And
nobody expected to introduce this use into commercial space, right? It's much more suited to industrial space, right? But until Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 3 is repealed, we have to zone more in town, or else we're going to get solar everywhere and anywhere, right? That's the point, is until that state statute is repealed, or some conditions like, you know, if your town in commercial development requires solar energy production on site, then we're kind of stuck. It's kind of, in a very basic way, and Arden, don't get mad at me, but it's kind of like that Chapter 40B. If you don't have enough affordable housing, then it can go anywhere. That's what this is like. And I think since that Tracer Lane decision, I think that people could be very aggressive in towns to do that. So it's...
If this statute sticks, I could see Mashpee turning into a junk shop, because people want to put solar, big farms, small farms. We have, you know, small installations for roofs now. That's fine. People are not really, I don't think, abusing that. This could become a terrific abuse. A totally unaesthetic looking town.
It is a problem in other towns, yeah. Tom?
So, the...
Use your mic.
Oh, sorry about that. Barnstable Fairground, who's that owned by?
County?
Who?
I don't think it's owned by the county. I think it's owned by the Barnstable County Fair Corporation. I think it's a private
Barnstable County
nonprofit.
Fair Corporation or Barnstable County?
I don't think it's owned by Barnstable County.
I don't think,
No,
It's not Barnstable County.
I think it's a 501c3.
What bothers me is that there was no consideration for the towns, and that I find as offensive. A big system such as that, knowing that it was going to look as badly as it does, it changed everything. Little Cape Cod all of a sudden looks like an industrial town.
you don't like it. Yeah, I don't really like
Right.
it either.
And it's just, but the fact that,
But I like where Mashpee Commons has theirs, and the ones in the parking lot at Christ the King, they work because we have a vegetated buffer.
but it's in the backyard for the most part.
Yes.
And there is a buffer of trees also out there.
We require parking in the back.
Right, so all
right?
those things are factored in. They didn't put it at the entrance to the mall, to Mashpee Commons.
Yes.
So those are the things, so they took consideration for the public, the abutters, the people, the property owners. And that's something that needs to be worded in there. It should have to be approved, not just by right, but at least
Okay, so
the
you,
looks,
you want
overall
us to look at
looks.
carports too?
Yeah,
For
absolutely.
October? Okay, we'll put that on the list, sir.
See, I have to disagree. I think it's a smart use of space over at the fairgrounds where there are already cleared areas. And so I believe that it's a nonprofit. So it's a funding mechanism to where they can now pay for upgrades to the facility. It's actually a great facility. It needs a lot of work because they didn't make money before the solars. I think they're going to make ample money now to where they can actually
But I
upgrade
think
the
Tom,
facility.
I think Tom is just saying, he doesn't mind them, he doesn't like the visual impact. So we should look,
Which I understand
Yeah,
that, but I
yeah,
mean,
just the
you know, at
visual
the end of the
impact.
day, you know, we got to put them somewhere. Nobody wants to look at
yeah.
anything. I mean,
Right. And one more
But we
thing,
can-
and I'll
we
jump,
can-
and I'll,
yeah.
and I'll add to that, you know, what's the one thing that comes up all the time, especially at town, every board? Affordable housing. That's all
I
you
know.
ever hear, right? So now you take away all of these panelized properties that don't allow for affordable housing. So if you want to get rid of, you know, you may make money because you have this land that's sitting there, well, sell the land and let them put up affordable housing, or build some rental affordable housing units.
We're gonna crack that nut.
There's ways to make money, and they put the solar panels on the roof.
Yep, we're going to crack that nut. Maybe, next time the Affordable Housing Trust, you know, issues an RFP, the housing that's built has to be solarized.
town manager?
Just one quick point. I would strongly encourage the planning board and the planner, when the conditions are being written up in the special permit, to make sure that you seek us out for the purposes of consulting with legal counsel, because I was just speaking with the treasurer, and we have had problems chasing these people down. So I just want to make sure that the town's interests are protected. And speaking of that, thank you for the decommission plan. Kudos. Thank you.
So as far as the articles, 30, 31, 32, self-explanatory. Does the board have any questions specific to each article?
I think the first one is the longest. That's where all those performance standards.
Really quickly, the first article, Article 30, amends the use table. It just says what districts the performance standards, which is a long one, apply in. So the applicability in which district. The smallest article is a proposed amendment to the land space requirements table that would allow a reduced frontage specifically for solar energy facilities. So if you have a weird-shaped lot that only has 25 feet of frontage, but you have large land area in the back, you could deploy solar with that limited frontage without needing to subdivide the property.
And then the third article is the really long one? Yes.
Which are the performance standards.
Sorry, I had it in out of order. Sorry.
So, Mr. Collins, are you saying that when somebody is coming in for a special permit, you want the town manager or the town council to look at that?
And just don't forget about us, because
The
Potentially
surety.
we just want to make
negotiate
sure,
as a condition.
we just want to make sure that those interests are protected.
Yes, for that point alone. How do we know, Evan, that if we give them a surety and then 50%, or we have a surety and 50% beyond that, that will be adequate in, say, 19 years when they abandon it?
In this moment, I don't have an answer. We'll try and evaluate the people who have done this before and provide an appropriate response.
Now, town manager, these articles were already in, so we're not doing a motion to add. We're just a motion to approve and recommend.
Approve and recommend,
Okay.
please.
I'd accept a motion to approve and recommend Article 30.
So moved.
Second.
Hearing a first and second, any further discussion on Article 30? Hearing none. Carol?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Carol? Michaela?
Yes.
And I'm a yes as well. That motion passes unanimously. I'd accept a motion to approve and recommend Article 31.
So moved. Second.
Hearing a first and second, any further discussion on Article 31? Hearing none. Michaela?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
I'm a yes as well. The motion to approve and recommend Article 31 is approved unanimously. I'd accept a motion to approve and recommend Article 32.
So moved.
Second.
Hearing first and second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Carol?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Michaela?
Yes.
I'm a yes as well. The motion to approve and recommend Article 32 passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you.
Good night.
Can I ask a quick agenda question? I didn't follow the conversation about Kathleen Laurent. Was that for the CPC Quashnet School article?
I think there was a question on one of the CPC articles, yes.
Right, so what are you going to do with the article since she's not here?
That article, the questions were addressed
They were.
by Kathleen Laurent, and so I
But not
believe
here.
we're all set. That was the only CPC article we had issues with, correct?
Right.
Yes. Thank you. So now we'll go to, that was the only ones we needed, folks from boards, committees, or departments, right?
Yeah, I think the other one is raise, but that's petition article, so. that's-
No, that wouldn't apply.
Are we going to take a stand?
That would
on
be
the
Article 4 on the special.
Article 4 on special is a CPC article that they were just talking
Oh,
about.
okay.
You put it on hold, waiting for Michaela's question.
Oh, okay, so we do need to.
So you need to vote on it, but my understanding is she's all set.
Yes,
So I didn't have the DPW director come in.
correct.
Correct.
So page 2, Article 4.
Exactly.
All right.
It says hold, so we need to.
Was it just missing the number?
No.
No.
She had a question. It's been answered by the DPW director. Unless somebody else has a question,
No.
I would just request that you approve and recommend.
Motion to approve and recommend Article 4.
So moved.
Second.
Hearing a first and second. Michaela?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
I'm a yes as well. Motion to approve Article 4 regarding the Quashnet School Playground Improvement Project, Phase 2, is approved unanimously.
God, everything's so choppy.
It should just be the contracts and the petitioned articles.
What page are we on with that?
Starting on page
Page
19.
19.
Okay.
Motion to approve Article 17, to see if the town will vote to approve and recommend Article 17, to see if the town will vote to appropriate and transfer the sum of $307,407 from revenue available for appropriation to fund the personal administration plan, Appendix B and Appendix C employees, including the plumbing and wiring inspectors effective July 1st, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
That's correct number.
That is correct.
Hearing first and second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Michaela?
Yes.
Yes.
Tom? John?
Yes.
Carol? I'm a yes as well. Motion to approve and recommend Article 17 passes unanimously. Moving on to Article 18. Police and fire. I'd accept a motion to approve and recommend Article 18 to see if the town will vote to appropriate and transfer the sum of $366,518 from revenue available for appropriation to fund the Mashpee Permanent Firefighters Association, International Association of Firefighters, IAFF, Local 2,519, effective July 1st, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
Hearing a first and second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Carol?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Michaela?
Yes.
I'm a yes as well. Motion to approve and recommend Article 18 is approved unanimously by all present. Moving on to Article 19. I'd accept a motion to approve and recommend Article 19 to see if the town will vote to appropriate and transfer the sum of $201,746 from revenue available for appropriation to fund the Mass COP Local 324 Unit A, patrol officers and detectives, effective July 1st, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
Hearing a first and second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Carol?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Michaela?
Yes.
I'm a yes as well. That motion passes unanimously to approve and recommend Article 19. Moving on to Article 20. I'd accept a motion to approve and recommend Article 20 to see if the town will vote to appropriate and transfer the sum of $101,192 from revenue available for appropriation to fund the Mass COP Local 320 Unit B, sergeants, effective July 1st, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
Hearing a first and second, any discussion? Hearing none. Michaela?
Yes.
Yes.
Tom? John?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
I'm a yes as well. That motion is approved unanimously by all present to approve and recommend Article 20. Article 21, to see if the town will vote to appropriate and transfer the sum of $26,773 from revenue available for appropriation to fund the Mass COP Local 477 Administrators Unit C, Police Lieutenants, effective July 1st, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
Hearing a first and second, any discussion? Hearing none. Carol?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Yes.
Tom? Michaela?
Yes.
I'm a yes as well. Motion to approve and recommend Article 21 passes unanimously. Moving on to Article 22. I'd accept a motion to approve and recommend Article 22 to see if the town will vote to appropriate and transfer the sum of $94,062 from revenue available for appropriation to fund the Service Employees International Union, SEIU, Local 888 Clerical Library Dispatchers, Chapter, effective July 1st, 2023.
No, the number's above,
Right.
26.
90.
It's 26.
Oh, is that, 26 is police officers.
The administration, police units is
No. What?
26,773.
That's administrators,
COP.
police units, police lieutenants. DPW, where's the
That's correct.
There's no number.
clerical?
Can we get-
There's no number for clerical? We're missing a number.
Go ahead.
Isn't it? Or am I reading these backwards?
I think we'd like you to prove it with a sum of money because we want to be sure of that number. We're a little bit unsure of that number.
Oh, so the number's
It-
the
it's-
69,867?
It looks like it's in excess, and we want to be sure there wasn't a mistake in it, giving it to us. So I'd rather have you just put in a sum of money. We can update you tomorrow once we're sure,
Okay.
if that's all right, just so we can get this done.
And that's on the employee.
That's Article 22.
Just trying to
So-
figure out how to frame that.
So go forward with the 69,867?
Just to be on the safe side.
Because it won't exceed 69.
It will not.
All right.
And what,
So I'd accept the motion. I'll amend it to change the appropriation to 69,867 to be used to appropriate and transfer from revenue available for appropriation to the fund the Service Employees International Union, SEIU, Local 888 Clerical Library Dispatches Chapter, effective July 1st, 2023.
Mr. Chair, hold on.
Second.
Would it be more appropriate to make a recommendation to not to exceed a sum of,
yes, what we can do is, we'll double check. What unfortunately was happening is we were literally, HR was literally doing the numbers all weekend long and into today, and we were short-staffed because of a death in the family. So we've got the numbers, we think, but based on this note, we just want to be sure if you leave that alone, then we're comfortable. And we can always do something at town meeting.
Okay, so we'll amend the motion to not to exceed
Yes.
69,867.
So
second?
Hearing a first and second, any discussion? Hearing none. Michaela?
Yes.
Yes.
Tom? John?
Yes.
Carol? I'm a yes as well. That motion is unanimous to pass Article 22 to approve and recommend. Moving on, we have Article 23. To see if the town will vote to appropriate and transfer the sum of $94,062 from revenue available for appropriation to fund the Service Employees International Union, SEIU, AFL-CIO, Local 888, Public Works Unit A, effective July 1st, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
Hearing a first and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Carol?
yes.
John?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Michaela?
Yes.
I'm a yes as well. Motion to approve and recommend Article 23 passes unanimously. Moving on to Article 24. I'd accept a motion to approve and recommend the town vote to appropriate and transfer the sum of $46,850 from revenue available for appropriation to fund the Service Employees International Union, SEIU, AFL-CIO, Local 888, Public Works Unit B, effective July 1st, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
Hearing a first and second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Michaela?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Carol? I'm a yes as well. Motion to approve and recommend Article 24 passes unanimously. That was all of them? That's all of them. Right, sector hold.
I believe you just have the petition articles left.
They start on what, special?
Article 38, page 33. It's for a road.
30 is road taking,
It's a
right?
road taking.
Yes.
Road layout, I should say.
Conservation Commission submitted by the, Article 38 is the first, I believe.
Yeah.
But on these, we're just taking a position,
We could take position and recommend.
right? It's not so much approval, it's just recommendation, correct?
You still,
Both.
Yeah.
Approve and recommend?
Yep.
I'd accept a motion to approve and recommend Article 38 to see if the town will vote to authorize and empower the Select Board to prepare a plan laying out and defining Watson Drive and to accomplish said purpose and for expenses related thereto, the town vote to appropriate and transfer from revenue available for appropriation 10,000 to the Watson Drive roadways account, or take any other action relating thereto. Submitted by petition, lead petitioner Stephen McDonald.
So moved.
Second.
Hearing a first and second, any discussion? This article authorizes the town to lay out and define Watson Drive and to appropriate funding for this purpose. Hearing none, Carol?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Michaela?
Yes.
I'm a yes as well. Motion to approve and recommend Article 38 is unanimous. Article 39, to see if I'd accept the motion to approve Article 39, to see if the town will vote to amend its bylaws by amending Chapter 172 Wetlands, subsection 172-2 jurisdiction, to increase the buffer zone to wetlands by replacing the words 100 feet of any of the aforesaid resource areas with the words 150 feet of any of the aforesaid resource areas, or take any other action relating thereto.
This is already stated that earlier, right?
Correct.
This is just a repeat
It's
article.
duplicative.
Yes, but
But
we've
it's
got to
petition.
leave them on because it's a
Yeah, it's
petition
petition.
article.
I mean, what are we going to do?
Yeah, I just,
It's just taking a position.
just could
Do
be
I hear a
gone.
first and second?
Just so you know, Dave, you don't have to take a position. You can make a vote to take no position, or you can vote to approve or not approve.
I vote no.
Oh, there's not a motion yet, I don't think.
Yeah, I haven't made the motion yet. Well, I framed one motion, but,
And also, Mr. Chair, if I could, the confusion is, the petitioners wanted this for the certainty that it was going to be
Gonna make it.
on the warrant.
right, now it
Once
is.
you execute the warrant, we can't remove it.
But they can, right?
They can stand
They
it.
can't remove it from the warrant, no.
Oh, it's,
It'll be in the book,
So-
but they don't
so-
have to hear it
so-
at town meeting.
So it can be indefinitely postponed at town
Right.
meeting, but it has to be on the warrant. Now,
Right.
there is some discussions relative to the suspension of the rules between legal and the moderator. I don't want to get into that for the purposes of tonight, but I will say that we really don't have any choice but to leave them on because they're petition articles, and they were legitimately submitted.
That's the way I was looking at it. So, motion to
Motion
take
to
no,
take no
I'd accept a
position.
motion to take no position on Article 39.
so moved.
Second.
Hearing a first and second, any discussion? Carol?
I agree, yes.
John?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Michaela? And I'm a yes as well. Motion to take no position on Article 39 was approved unanimously
For the confusion.
by all present.
I don't know how I can
40.
take no position behind, I'm sick, even if I said no, I don't know how they'd look at that.
I don't either,
I
Tom.
said no to say what? To say, take no position?
Double negative, you're supporting. Article 40, I'd accept a motion to, again, the same thing.
It's the same part.
I'd accept a motion to take no action on Article 40, to see if the town will vote to amend subsection 172-7A1 of its wetland bylaws by replacing the term 100 feet in its first sentence and with the term 150 feet, replacing the term 100 foot in its third sentence with the term 150 feet, foot, and replacing the term 50 feet in its fifth sentence with the term 75 feet, or taking any other action relating thereto. Submitted by
So-
petition,
That was a no position.
no position.
That's what you stated.
Is what I framed it, yes. Did I hear a first? Is there a second? Hearing a first, and Carol, second? So hearing a first and second, any discussion? Hearing none. Michaela?
Yes.
Tom? No.
We're taking no position.
Couldn't hear you.
It's no position.
What?
Could you speak in the mic?
No position.
No position. I'm just,
He's taking
If you say yes, You could be construed as against what you're wishing.
Whatever the answer, could you speak into the mic for our recording secretary?
Oh, my God.
That's a good one.
Or you can abstain. Is the other option.
I could do that, couldn't I? I'll go with no. But no wetland, traffic, crazy.
No?
I haven't heard yet.
Which one's that was 13?
So
It's Article 40.
40.
a yes vote
40,
means
right.
no position.
It's a companion article.
Right, companion, yeah. You know something? I don't think I want to take a position. I don't think,
We're not taking a
So if
position.
you say yes, that means
I
you're
know,
taking
I
no
know, but
position.
it's,
Yes, there's no position.
It's already in the warrant.
We already voted on it. It's
All right.
already an article.
So what is the
Going in front of
vote?
town meeting, doesn't matter.
it
So
does because
yes
it-
means you're taking
How
no
is your
position.
vote?
Just look at how you vote.
How is your vote for the recording? You have to take some
You gotta-
action. You're gonna either yes, no, or abstain. Or-
Yes means
or-
you're taking
or
no
recuse.
position. Yes means you're taking no position.
I get that, right. I'll go with yes. It's just, it's like no matter what.
That's a good
And we
one.
have a
Final answer?
yes. John,
Yes.
Carol, and I'm a yes as well. Motion to take no position on Article 40 was unanimous by all present. Article 41.
This is a road layout.
All right, so I'd accept a motion to approve and recommend Article 41 to see if the town will vote to authorize and empower the Select Board to prepare a plan laying out and defining Blue Castle Drive and to accomplish said purpose and for expenses relating thereto. The town vote to appropriate and transfer from revenue available for appropriation $10,000 to the Blue Castle roadways account or take any other action relating thereto. Submitted by petition.
So moved.
Recommend and approve.
Right.
Was that a second?
Yes.
Hearing a first and second, any discussion? Hearing none. Carol?
Yes.
John?
I think yes.
Tom?
Yes,
Michaela?
Yes.
it's an easy one.
I'm a yes as well. Motion to approve Article 41 was unanimous by all present. I'd accept a motion to approve Article 42 to see if the town will vote to approve the following additions pertaining to Santuit Pond to the Waterways Regulations, Chapter 170, prohibit the use of any engine or motor over 10 horsepower, and regulate speed to headway speeds, specific language below. This is a repeat, so I'd amend that to amend my original motion to read as, I'd accept a motion to take no position on Article 42.
So moved.
Second.
Hearing a first and second, any discussion?
I have a question. I should have asked it earlier. How do we take no position on these if we took a position on the first ones?
Because they're probably
So-
going to remove it at.
It's going to be
They'll-
removed, that's why.
They'll stand up and remove
It's
it.
for the
They'll
confusion
stay.
factor for the public. They're going to be like, if we vote on both, in my opinion, they'll look at them and say, isn't that, did I?
The petitioner can rescind
Right.
on the
Or-
floor. So
Right.
they'll rescind this, it's in the back of the warrant, where
Right.
the other ones are already heard, we already took positions on those.
Right.
So they're getting the information they need, we're making the recommendations to the town meeting, although these are gonna come later, and, you know, they'll just have to stand up, it's just going through the motions of, the moderator will have to
They do
handle
it,
that.
Michaela,
I-
they
no,
put
I-
the petition
go
in
ahead.
because they're afraid we were going to pull it at the beginning. So
Okay.
this protects that article.
So in keeping with that, if we voted yes the first time around, and they're concerned that it's going to be our yes vote and the article is going to be pulled, do we not take a position on this?
No, because it's going to be pulled. There won't be
I-
any.
Only, and I understand that, but it's only because it's duplicate.
Okay.
That I'm taking no
Thank you.
And I
position.
think the explanation
And
would
we
be
can- we
it's
can make that-
duplicative.
Okay.
We can express
Yep.
that,
Public gets
Thank
very
you.
confused when you see,
Yeah.
what's the difference
I
between
just,
this
I
and
just,
this?
but it's
I
going to pass.
understand, I wanted to bring that
It's
up.
going to either pass or fail prior to this, by the
Yes.
time we get to this section.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I don't have any other questions.
No other questions. Carol?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Michaela?
Yes.
I'm a yes as well. Motion to take no position on Article 14 passes unanimously.
42.
Moving on to Article 43, to see if the town will vote to amend subsection 174-25, H12 of the Mashpee zoning bylaw table of use regulations by replacing subsection 174-25, H12 in its entirety with the following.
This is the duplicate.
Is it?
Yeah.
This was submitted by
This is the
Duplicate.
duplicate
petition?
of Mary's article that
On
we
this,
just did.
oh, okay,
So
I
I
got
I believe
you.
it is. I haven't read it word
No,
for
it
word.
is. It is. She's got-
Okay.
So. we'll
So
take no
I accept a
position.
motion to take no action on Article 43.
So moved.
Second.
Hearing a first and second, any discussion? Hearing none. Michaela?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
Motion to take no action on Article 43 passes unanimously by all present. Article 44 is the same, so I accept a motion to take no action on Article 44.
So moved.
Second.
Hearing a first and second, any discussion? Hearing none. Michaela?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
And I'm a yes as well. Motion to take no action on Article 44 passes unanimously by all present. Moving on to Article 45. This article, I'd accept a motion to approve Article 45 to see if the town will vote to amend the zoning bylaws by deleting in its entirety subsection 174-17.1, raise and replace, or take any other action relating thereto, submitted by petition
So moved.
This is not a duplicate.
No, we know that.
The article removes the ability of the Board of Appeals to approve the raise and replace of pre-existing non-conforming dwellings by special permit. Passed in 2018, subsection 174-17.1, raise and replace has not been employed in the spirit promised, resulting in detrimental building height, lot coverage, and impact on natural resources. Structures may still be altered under subsection 174-17, continuance, extensions, and alterations. So I heard a
You're waiting for a second.
first, I didn't hear a second. Going once, going twice. All right, that motion fails to approve and recommend, so we take no position, it stays in.
I'd like to motion that we not recommend Article 45.
I second that.
I'm totally surprised.
I'd accept the motion to not recommend. Hearing a first and second, any discussion?
Yes.
Just add it to did the Finance Committee, do you know what the results of the Finance Committee?
Did on the petition.
I don't know, sir.
I don't believe the Finance
Yes.
Committee voted on this.
They voted not to. recommend.
Unanimous?
Thank you.
Michaela?
Thank you.
So I think that by moving this forward, what we do is we address some of the unintended consequences of raise and replace. And in the explanation, some of those consequences are spelled out. I think what's in here is detrimental building height. This does not take away from the ability of somebody to replace the structure, to replace their home. What it does remove is a special permit given directly by the zoning board, or I think it's the special permit that's done by the zoning board of appeals. As we've watched the ZBA from meeting to meeting, these are pretty routinely passed. And I think there are detrimental effects to neighborhoods. I think there are also detrimental effects to natural resources. Again, I think the spirit of raise and replace was to allow people to raise a modest home and replace it with a similar home. With modernizing it, taking care of all those things, we don't want anyone to live in a home that's out of code, certainly, but I think the impact has been very different from that. I think we hear neighbors come to meetings and talk about how they've been impacted, how people now don't see sunshine from their porch anymore because there's a 2.5-story building next to them. I also worry about the pollution factor. When you replace the 1-bedroom home or a 2-bedroom home with a 5 or 6-bedroom home, you can have a lot more flushes, so you're going to have a lot more nitrogen
And you're also
pollution.
upgrading your septics, too.
Oh, I think, but you could do that without raising and replacing, right? You could do that by replacing your modest home with another home that's updated and modernized, but of similar size, of course. Let me think for a second, because
To that issue, though, I mean, if you raise and replace and you build a bigger, say you double the size of it, but you still only have 2 bedrooms and the original house had 2 bedrooms, they're not requiring you to upgrade your septic, I don't think.
They only upgrade, you have to upgrade your septic.
They're all getting all new
Everything
upgrade
is-
systems.
All of them?
Well, when they
But
are
they're not
upgraded,
going, but they're not
upgraded
going
with
from a
Title V.
2-bedroom to a 5-bedroom like you just
Well,
said.
some of
I mean,
them are.
if
Some of them are, John.
If the bedroom count doesn't change, they still force them to change? Yeah.
I have another concern with raise and replace, and it really has to do with attainable housing. I think the more we are replacing attainable homes, affordable homes for many people, homes, below 500,000, with homes that the average person could never afford because they're so large, it not only is detrimental to the character of the town, but it's detrimental to people who are looking for attainable housing. So
we have a motion.
Still in a discussion, but just to add, just so you're aware, I'm not dead set against, I don't think the raise and replace as it stands right now is correct. I would be in favor of some modifications, but that's not in front of me. This is no longer a raise and replace for the zoning board. So I'm going on this article.
Yeah.
I would be in favor of if they talked about some modifications to raise and replace. That would be something I would absolutely consider because I think that is needed. So I'm not, what you're saying, I understand and I see it.
yeah.
It's a concern. I just saying, going from this to that, I think there's some middle ground that should be discussed rather than just removing raise and replace. That's my stance.
I think prior, but my understanding is correct, prior to raise and replace, a resident who wanted to replace their home could get a variance. I mean, it's not as though they couldn't replace an unsafe structure with another structure. What this has done, as I said, is an unintended consequences, I'm sure, but what it's done is take fairly modest homes and replace them with very, very large homes and complete lot coverage. So we did have something that raise and replace actually replaced, and that was the possibility and opportunity of the homeowner to get a variance.
I'd be more acceptable to an article that modifies raise and replace rules that is brought forward by the planning board, the town planner, that they have thought more about modifications that make sense for the town. That would,
Can I respond to that?
I would bring more consideration to that.
So in 2000, this is Mary Wagon, I'm the chair of the zoning board, and I painfully went through this process before. And that was one of the suggestions at that time, was to put some limits to this. And the people who supported going to a special permit for raise and replace because the ZBA could no longer provide variances, fought me tooth and nail for that kind of stuff. They fought me tooth and nail. They wouldn't even put to the neighborhood. It says detrimental. It's supposed to say detrimental to the neighborhood per state statute. And if you read the land court case that just came out for 228 Wading Path, the land court judge says you can't make a decision because your zoning bylaw is wrong. It doesn't have detrimental to the neighborhood. It's just detrimental. So I love your optimism, but I'm not too sure that you're going to get any support for that, John.
Well, what if you both sat down in the room and
I did. 2018. No budging, no nothing, no compromise. It was their way or the highway.
That
And
was
that's why the zoning
2018. This is-
bylaw, the planning bylaw, planning board at the time did not recommend this change to the zoning bylaw because we knew this was going to happen. We said, you're going to have McMansions being built, and we were promised that wouldn't happen, and that's exactly what happened. So I don't think you can kick the can over to the planning board. I think it has to have a lot of support to do that, and I guess I'll be looking for you, John.
And by the way, just so you knew, when you came up, I didn't chuckle because you got to the microphone. I chuckled because you introduced yourself as chairman of the zoning board.
Oh, I'm sorry, planning
So
board.
I didn't want you to think that
I'm
it was.
here too
I
many
was-
nights.
No offense, that's all. I was still chuckling about that, that's all.
So I do think that by deleting this section in its entirety, what you do is you go back to what you had before this was passed in 2018, which allowed homeowners to get a variance to replace their home and modernize it and do all of the things they needed to do. But the variance was spelled out, and it wasn't just rampant over building on tiny lots so that neighbors really do suffer detrimental effects. And again, the more of these homes we built and the more we say attainable housing is important, I think we're at dissonance.
So, I mean, some good points raised. I mean, that waiting place case, I don't know how that plays into this, into our decision at this table tonight. If you do remove it and we take a position to remove it, then, you're taking a position and forcing people to come back to the table. So, I mean, the motion on the floor right now is, I get that, Carol. Right now, we're moving to where the motion as it is presented on the floor is to not recommend. And I just want to put it in perspective that, we do have a case that just came out that somehow factors into this, and that, forcing people to come back to the table to revise this has been attempted, has failed, and we ended up with this, and now this is a way of trying to bring it back, and so I don't know if I agree with taking a motion to not recommend, but I will entertain the motion and then call on the vote. Michaela?
The motion, and
The
we're voting
motion
on
is
not
to
recommend.
not recommend.
No.
Tom?
To not recommend.
You're not in favor,
I'm not in favor.
then it's not recommended.
Well, wait a minute.
So then it's yes.
Not,
You see,
to not recommend.
I can't tell
The
you.
wording is just so screwed up.
you're saying
Yes.
Yes to the,
not to
Tom.
recommend.
I
My
don't-
motion was to not recommend remove or raise and replace. So if you say yes, then you are in favor of not recommending.
The article.
Yes, the article.
The article.
Article 45.
Right. Yes, I do not want
So
the
so that's a
article to
yes.
move forward.
So for the record, he said yes. John, moving right along.
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
And I'm a no.
3-2.
3-2. That motion passes.
Yeah.
To not recommend.
Okay. That's the
Was that the
end
last?
of the warrant.
Whoo!
Hoorah!
Don't we have to execute it?
Yes, but there is the article on the ice, snow and ice, which we do not have a number on.
We usually do that at town meeting, right?
Well, generally, we just either
We do it
had
whenever
or
it
we
pops
just
up.
did it, but it didn't, yeah. So I just, you either have to take a motion to recommend
I'd
or
ex-
at town meeting, or approve it with a sum of money written in there, and then you'll
I'd
get that.
I'd accept a motion to approve and recommend Article 1 with, to see if the town will vote to appropriate and transfer a sum of money from revenue available for appropriation to the snow and ice account or take any other action relating thereto.
So moved.
So, second.
Hearing a first and second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Carol?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Michaela? I'm a yes as well. The motion to approve and recommend Article 1 is unanimous by all present and passes. That was the last one?
No, we have to
I
execute.
think that's it.
I mean, as far as articles.
Yes, all you have to do now is recommend approval of this town meeting.
Approval and
Execute the town
execution.
meeting warrant. Execute the town meeting warrant, yeah.
Approval and execution.
All right, so I'd accept a motion to approve execution of the May 1st, 2023 special and annual town meeting warrants.
So moved.
Second.
Hearing a first and second, any discussion? Michaela?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
And I'm a yes as well. Motion to approve and recommend, to execute the May 1st special annual town meeting warrants was approved unanimously by all present.
Oh, my cookies.
Discussion and possible action with regards to the 2 debt exclusion ballot questions for the May 6, 2023 town election. So before us, question 1, we have, I'd accept a motion to add to the ballot question 1 that reads, shall the town of Mashpee be allowed to exempt from the provisions of Proposition 2 and 1.5, so-called, the amounts required to pay for the bonds to be issued in order to fund construction completion of Phase 1 of the town's comprehensive nitrogen and wastewater management treatment and disposal improvement plans, including sanitary sewer mains, lift stations, and related wastewater collection and treatment system improvements, including without limitation all costs thereof as defined in Section 1 of Chapter 29C of the general laws.
So moved.
Second, we're just adding it to.
Right.
Right. Hearing a first and second, any discussion on question 1 being added to the ballot? Hearing none. Carol?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Yes.
Tom? Michaela?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Adding question 1 to the ballot passes unanimously by all present. I'd accept a motion to approve question 2 to the ballot for the May 6, 2023 election. The question reads, shall the town of Mashpee be allowed to exempt from the provisions of Proposition 2 and 1/2, so-called the amount required to pay for the bonds and to purchase and lease of new fire truck, Mashpee School, Public Schools, HVAC replacement, design, engineering, and construction energy audit, Town Hall HVAC, water piping design and construction, Police Department HVAC replacement, design, engineering, and construction, and DPW roof replacement, design, engineering, and construction, including the payment of costs incidental or related thereto.
So moved.
If I could.
Yes, sir.
There's been some misinformation out there, and I know the treasurer has sat here all night,
All night for the last question.
Last question.
and I would respectfully request
Yes,
that you
sir.
be able to explain to the board the
The $8 million?
Well, the funding, which he will clear up.
Craig Main, Town Treasurer. First off, the ballot question you read should not have a lease of the new fire truck. It's only a purchase.
Okay. Take that out.
Secondly, I read the article from the Enterprise on Friday. The truck would be put over 5 years, and that'd be over 5 years. The other projects would be over 20 years. I wouldn't go for a 30-year bond on the HVAC or any of the other items. So, and all of those lifespans are guided by the Chapter 44, Sections 7 and 8 in the Mass General Laws. So basically, you're looking at around $8 million. The average family single home for the first 5 years would be $97 down to $85, and then it drops down to $54 per year, down to $32.44 for the next 15 years. And then the average condo is 63 down to 56, and then after the 5th year, it would drop down to 36 to 21 dollars per year per condo for the average condo price. So that's and that's at a 5% interest rate right now, whereas the $12 million bond for the sewer has a 0% interest. So obviously that would be a different amount for the average family homes.
Right.
So kind of wanted to clear that up because you don't want that to be bothersome if you're trying to sell the project.
Right.
Do you have any
Thanks, Greg.
questions?
Any other questions? Any questions for?
So question 2, we'd strike lease in front of
Yes.
fire truck. Okay.
Yes.
And sure.
You're on the election warrant.
The ballot.
How come you don't have to put like an amount?
The ballot question, if you don't mind.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Sorry. The ballot question does not have an amount on there because it's not required by law. The article question does, which is required by law. So that's giving the bonding authorization from the legislature.
Town meeting.
At town meeting, you have to
Find
have.
out the amount. Okay.
Correct.
Thank
Yep.
you.
Mr. Dabrowski, I opened the door. And I think it's,
I only have one, it's more of a procedural question than anything, okay? If it's what, and I don't doubt that what you say is absolutely true, and it's.
I would just ask the question to the chair.
Okay. All right,
Please
what
address
he
the
said-
chair.
It's total, well, I just wanted to be deferential because I believe him. But if that's what we're doing, why doesn't the language say that? Because the language is very, very broad. It doesn't say we're doing the truck for 5 and the HVACs for 20. It's just saying, we're doing it. I mean, again, it's a hell of a lot different. I read that and I hear what he said, and they're two different things. It's apples and oranges. So again, if that's what we're doing, why doesn't it say it?
We'll have Mr. Treasurer answer that to the.
All of the lifespan, like I said, it's the authorization at town meeting, at the article for town meeting, lists the section and chapters that are listed that require what you're going to use for a useful life. Within those chapters and sections is the useful life of the vehicles and all of the other items that you're listing. So that's where you're coming up from. I mean, some of the HVAC may be equipment you don't know yet, and that may have a different useful life than the regular HVAC. So you've got a lot of things in there that you're not sure of all of the useful lives, but you're going with the best guess right now.
Thank you.
Well, Craig is here.
Michaela?
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Could you also, because another, I think, misconception has been that our debt ratio to our equalized value is really high. And if I read correctly, it's very, very low. Could you just talk a little bit about, and I'm not saying it should be higher, but I would like residents to know that I would just like residents to know.
Our debt currently outstanding is $15,500,000. That's short-term and long-term. What's authorized is much more than that. Of course, we have the $54 million, which hasn't hit the books yet. So we have, I want to say it's $68 million of authorized and unissued debt. Let me just,
It's 5% of the
$58 million.
equalized value, correct?
The equalized value, so the debt limit that we have and every town has is 5% of the equalized value. The equalized value of the town is just around $8 billion. So that means that our debt limit is $400 million. We have 16 million outstanding. We have $58 million that is authorized but unissued. So we could expend more, but you're going to have to go for a Prop 2.5 a debt exclusion outside Prop 2.5 to get that. You can go up to 10%, and it used to be that you had to have authorization from the state, which would be $800 million. If you go up to $800 million, personally, I'm going to have to shiver, but that's a lot of money. And so you can do it. Again, you'd have to go outside Prop 2.5 and do it as an outside debt exclusion. You could go inside debt, but then you're going to have to increase your Prop 2.5, and you have to go for an override.
But we're somewhere, I believe, are we somewhere around like 2.5% or 3%? Again, I'd just like to reassure residents.
Well, we're right now at $16 million, which is, if 5% is 400,000 or 400 million, you're talking less than 1%
Thank you.
of our debt,
Thank you, I appreciate that.
of our equalized value. So does that answer the question?
It certainly does, thank you.
Okay.
And again, not that I'm encouraging any more debt, but I'm just saying we're a long ways away from 400 million.
When we get the 54 million sitting in there, then you're talking 58 million plus the 16 million, that's $72 million that's out there. If 5% is 400 million, you're talking about 1%. Close.
If I may. So I asked that because, as I said, I just want residents to be aware of our financial situation. As I was looking through DLS, I think we're 10th on the Cape as far as our per capita equalized value and our ratio. So we're in good shape. Our AAA bond rating, our low ratio of debt.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Standards & Poor's looks at the ratio of debt as to how much we have outstanding and how much is authorized. We've done a very good job of trying to shelter our debt and not run into it. I'm not saying that we haven't got a need to incur it when we need to. I'm assuming phase 1 is certainly going to incur the debt. And then if you choose to do phase 2, that's going to raise the debt as well. The question becomes, okay, how much debt can the town incur before they start to lose their bond rating? Because once you start to incur more debt, if the town has an issue trying to get tax people and get that money, then that could be an issue with, okay, does Standards & Poor's look at you and go, you're going to have to cut something else to create, to get the money for the debt that you're obligated to pay. And then, okay, your interest rate is going to go up.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you for hanging in there.
Oh, no problem.
Well, thank you, Kurt.
I just wanted to clear that up.
Sure. So I believe there was a motion on the table that was first and seconded for approval of question 2
With the modification of,
with edits.
with the edit lease. Okay.
And we did have a first and second on that, I believe.
I just got a first. Did you second?
I second.
Thank you.
So any further discussion on question 2? Hearing none. Michaela?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
John? Carol? I'm a yes as well. Question 2 is approved unanimously.
As amended?
As amended. So, final item on the agenda is discussion and approval of the May 6, 2023 annual town election warrant. I'd accept a motion to approve the May 6, 2023 town election warrant.
Election warrant. So moved.
As presented.
So moved.
You have to amend that as well,
we do?
Dave,
Oh,
because it
is
has
it?
lease in this document.
What are the edits?
Lease for the truck, fire truck
Oh,
on question
okay,
two.
so same
Question
thing.
Good catch.
And we're
Strike
motioning
lease.
to a
Yeah,
Strike lease.
striking lease.
That was the only edit.
Yep.
So I accept a motion to approve the Town of Mashpee election warrant to be held on May 6, 2023 with the amended language.
So moved.
Second.
Hearing a first and second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Carol?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Yes.
Tom? Michaela?
Yes.
I'm a yes as well. The motion to approve Town of Mashpee annual election warrant was approved unanimously with edits. Additional topics. Moving on, liaison reports. Water quality updates? Hearing none. Town manager updates.
I'm all set, sir. I'm all set, sir. Actually, I do have one thing. I just want to make sure
Sure.
that you all received the cesspool information.
Yes,
Oh,
we
yeah.
did.
Yes.
Everybody received it?
Yes.
we did.
Yep.
Okay. Comes out that cesspools make up 1.7% of the total septic units in the town. And just wanted to make sure you had it, because I did promise it by the 31st, so 3 cheers to the health department, or particularly the health agent and the assistant and staff for getting that to me. Thank you, boss.
Appreciate it. So
3 years and then that happens?
coming to the end of the agenda, I accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Hearing a first and second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Good night. Thank you, everyone.